Welcome to February 2022. I'm Taryn, for those of you that don't know me, and this is your Heartway message for February 2022. So just as we move into February, it's important to give yourself a chance to integrate January, and that is going to be a key part of this journey throughout 2022, is one of integration, one of bringing that which has been exposed into the next month, not trying to let it go. There's this illusion in letting go of saying like it's in the past, it's done. We need to gather the wisdom, gain the insights, allow ourselves to learn and grow, and then take that into the next month. So a reminder that the card for January was be brave. Yeah, and certainly you may find that in January there's been opportunities or you would have noticed that as you were starting to do things again in this year, really becoming conscious of patterns and behaviors and habits that no longer serve you is what this Be Brave card has been about. The two cards for 2022 being Be Brave and Let Joy Be Your Guide are overarching in this whole year. And so even as we go into February, that bravery element and that allowing ourselves to connect with what is joy, what is your joy, what brings you joy, what sparks your joy, what creates your joy. These overarch every card that we go through in 2022 and the Heartway. For those of you that are listening for the first time, the Heartway is a path that has been shared for 2022 around being able to connect with your heart and let that be your guidance system for 2022. You can go back and listen to some of the videos in January and explains the Heartway. And many of you have got the Heartway journal, and the Heartway journal is a beautiful way to connect with the energy for each month and to work with it. So as we step into February, typically known as the month of love, we have the card Feel It, Deal With It, and Heal It. Feel it, deal with it, and heal it. So take a moment and just notice what that card even does for you when you look at it. When you hear those words, feel, deal, heal. And what is it that it sparks in you? February, as I said, is typically the month associated with love. We have Valentine's Day and all the things that come up with that. And so it's a great month for us to be paying attention to this world of emotion. I have been talking about in the Heartway path, we need to understand that following your heart is not the same as being triggered by your emotions. We need to know the difference. Our emotions are profound tools to take us into ourselves. There are tools that, it's a spark of energy that allows us to be more curious and more honest with ourselves. And those emotions and feelings that come up for us are a guidance tool for what needs to be healed or what is it that works well for us. When we pay attention to our emotions, we bring our mind, body, heart, and spirit into alignment with it. That is when our heart opens. So alignment is the entry point to the heart opening. And so emotions is part of the key, but not the only key. It is part of the tool. And so when we look at feel it, deal with it, heal it, we need to start noticing our emotional blueprint, our feelings experience, what happens for us. Now, there's two ways that we can look at this as a starting point for this energy. One is emotions arise naturally in our day. We are naturally beings that have an emotional experience on earth. And so emotions being a sort of access point to information of how I'm experiencing my day and my life is a vital thing for us to be conscious and aware of, but not being held ransom to. So they are not instructions to act. Emotions are energy that is in motion through you. And when you allow yourself to pay attention to it, be aware of it, become conscious of it, you may start to realize what is good for you and what is not good for you. That does not mean that any emotion is good and any emotion is bad. That is not true. All emotions serve, all emotions are powerful, but to what extent it is leading me to live in an expanded, open heart way, and to what extent is it closing me down? Emotions never happen in isolation. There is always a mental component to emotions, a story we are telling ourselves, something that's going on where we can even hurt our own feelings. We can witness something and create a story about it, and suddenly we're in a state of deep despair. And it's not based on facts, it's based on the story that we have created. Again, we don't need to judge this as good or bad or right or wrong. It is about conscious awareness. So in this energy of 2022, starting to become aware of emotions, many of us suppress it. Many of us are distant from it. Many of us are not paying any attention to this emotional blueprint that is going on in our lives. So the calling for February is to pay attention to emotions. For those of you that have the Heartway journal, you have a page that is a word of the day. Let me just get to it here and I'll show you. This is the word of the day. If you don't have the Heartway journal, you can still do the exercise. But one of the things I'd encourage you in this is to reflect on the major emotions that are happening for you in a day. So you can do that at the end of the day. What has been the emotional signature of today? And labeling emotions, giving words to emotions, starting to notice what they are beyond I'm fine or I'm not fine, but really going into lots of distinctions around, if I'm angry, get to a clarity. Am I just irritated? Am I frustrated? Am I enraged? And am I insecure? What is the anger about? So expanding our words and being able to label the emotions, and then starting to notice the patterns. What is my emotional blueprint? That starts to give us profound amount of insight and wisdom into ourselves. And so that's the feel it component that we have going on. And there is a great amount of delight in witnessing that, because all emotions is an attention seeking tool. I'm seeking attention around something. When it's given attention, when it's witnessed, it can calm down. But when it's ignored, suppressed, resented, it builds. And so witnessing emotions takes us into a space where we can actually start to have more natural flow rather than these intense flows as we go through our day and our week and our life. We also need to understand there's a very important component of this card that relates to past triggers. Now, when I talk about triggers, there's many ways for us to describe that. It is really where we get hijacked in the current moment to respond to something or react to something based off memories in the past. So something may have happened when I was 6 and a teacher was mean to me, or I was laughed at, or I was bullied, or something happened on the playground. And suddenly I have an experience today that is similar to it, not the same, but similar to it. And all of a sudden a hijack happens that I go back to that time, that place. And the story I created at that age gets on repeat now. And I get taken over and I behave in the same way. I put in place the same coping strategies, the same defense tactics, the same retaliations, the same avoidance tactics, the same addictions to numb the pain. When we can notice this, magic happens. Because we're able to go back to that place in time and give that child in us what she or he needed that they never received. And bring them into the current and say, you are no longer responsible for dealing with this in my life. I have new resources. I can deal with it differently. And making a new choice. Those of you that have done Soul Compass and been a part of the Heartway journey so far know that the bravest thing we can do is make a new choice, commit to a new pathway. That requires us again to witness, to honor, to create a new story, and to choose a new pathway. This is consciousness in action. This is me being awake to myself healing myself in my journey. A large part of the readings that I do and the work that I do is helping people see that link of how my behavior today is a rational response to an irrational feeling. And so we need to unpack that so that we can get to, how do I live in the wisdom of all I've learned? Because you're not that little girl or little boy anymore. And this is one of healing our own wounds, that when those wounds are not healed, our heart closes. And so every time we do this, every time we're brave enough to explore this reality, we soften our hearts and we open up and we make more adult choices. Now, when I say adult choices, I want to be more humane in our choices. They serve us better. They create more of what we want. The deal with a part of this card really is a lot of what we've been talking about so far. But when I say deal with it, it's not necessarily dealing with it in the outside world, although sometimes that may well be what needs to be done. We don't need to go back to our teacher in the example I just used and have a conversation with them about how much you hurt me and what it is that you must do differently now. We have an opportunity to deal with it in ourselves and say, okay, that story I'm telling myself doesn't serve me. It can be honored. We don't have to dismiss it. And then let me give myself a new story. And then the question of dealing with it is more how I change my behavior in the current moment to others, to myself, to the world. So the deal with it is really that choice component. It's that place of saying, how do I choose to respond? What is the decision that I get to make? This is vital in the sense of starting to feel empowered, like I have power. I'm not a victim of what has happened to me. I'm not a victim of my emotions. I can honor it, see it, witness it, love it, and then choose. Choose what to do with it. Choose how to move forward. And in choosing, I'm going to encourage you to start looking at what choices do I have? What options do I have? When we start looking at choice and options, there's always more than two. So often we think we have two choices. Two choices holds us ransom. Always come up with the third choice, the fourth choice, the fifth choice, even the sixth choice, and then make a decision as to what it is I need to try out. And when you try it out for the first time, it will feel awkward. It may not even get the result you want. It may feel completely strange. Don't give up there. Keep trying something new until it starts to become the energy of flow. That's how we shift the neural pathway and recalibrate the body, that the body doesn't hold onto that story and keep us entrenched in that fight or flight mode. It releases it. But you have to know you're safe. You have to see it for what it is. That requires courage and conviction. And so the mandalas in the February Heartway journal are really quite beautiful mandalas. This is a mandala that is that beautiful flowers. The perspective of seeing the beauty in the pain. Yeah? And you can see that on the card. We can see the ashes and the rose. The other one, let's just give you, has got a little bit more of a geometrical heart-centered feel to it. So the heal it component of this card, so we've got the feel it component, the deal with it component about making choice, and the heal it component. Healing is when we've brought our body back into alignment. We've brought our mind, body, heart, and spirit back into a place that it doesn't get so pulled apart by events that are happening to us. When we are in alignment, we are in sort of a place of bravery, because we can stand tall no matter what is happening to us. And we know we've healed when we can experience something that has happened to us before, not in exactly the same way, but maybe it's a relationship where we typically have a sort of defense tactic or something going on in it. And suddenly the other person doesn't change, but we have a different internal feeling and therefore a different external response. It doesn't pull us into that shatteredness that hijacks us from being brilliant. And so this is why often I talk about how the people that trigger you are often your greatest angels in life. They're giving you an opportunity to learn about how to be centered and take care of yourself and do what's good for you. And that may require some big action. That may require words that need to be expressed. That may be a way of setting new boundaries or creating new ways of being. It may be ways of not hurting your own feelings, being able to look at an event for what it is rather than translate it into the awfulized strategy we create in our mind. The heal it component is you know that it's there when everything remains soft in you. You don't get into this fight or flight response. You can remain open to the wisdom of I can choose. I no longer feel like a victim. I free the people that I've placed in the role of persecutor. They no longer are that. I feel equal. I feel whole. This is something that I promise you will never be finished. But every time we do it, you release energy. You release anything that has been stored up trying to protect you, and it gets channeled into creating you. We know this in our physical body. There's a beautiful healing technique called TRE, where you shake to release all the stored adrenaline in your muscles. And when you free it, there's a softness, but suddenly there's an expansiveness, a creativeness to you. And so we need to teach our body to be in a different state. We need to help our mind come up with a different story. We need to bring our spiritual perspective into it, the comfort, without using that as a toxic avoidance tactic. And then we need to honor the heart, to say, I am safe, I am loved. I create my own safety, and I love myself. Now, all of this is true when you are safe. If you're really in a situation where you are in danger, there is a different response. I'm not talking about that today. I'm talking about the way we process our emotions and our feelings through our day. So February is a month where we have the courage to pay attention to our emotions. So look at what stories can we change? How do we release the stored pain in our body? How do we bring in comfort and nurturing into our space and open our hearts to a new way forward? If you'd like to explore this some more, on Tuesday, what date is that? Sorry, let me just see, the 8th of February, we will do the next Heartway session. So if you'd like to sign up for that, the links are all below. If you can't join us live, then you can always join and get the recording. And in that, I will be taking you through a process to release pain in the body. And it's going to be a beautiful technique that you can use to recalibrate the stories you're telling yourself so you have new tools going forward. Sending you lots of love. Namaste.